welcome to Can I Kick It? My name is Corey Stein. There's a problem a lot of us face when we go onto a website like Kickstarter or Indiegogo. We search and search and search to find a game that we're interested in playing, a game that we're interested in looking at and spending time with. But unfortunately, a lot of times developers don't spend the proper amount of time developing their art style, developing the aesthetic of their games. And that can be an issue. No matter how much fun your game is, no matter how great the gameplay mechanics sound, ultimately the professionalism that will come through is usually from the visuals. But this week, I had sort of the opposite issue. There was a lot of games that looked beautiful, but none of them had really great gameplay descriptions. They all kind of felt a little bit derivative of other things. From my honest perspective, they could end up being incredibly fun. So I thought I'd bring them to you anyway, because I think it's important to talk about games with visual quality. Knite and the Ghostlights is a game that's very special to my heart. The reason for that is it uses a traditional animation style, reminiscent of something like Nightmare Before Christmas. You see stop motion in action. It's transposed into a digital environment, everything is laid together in a computer, but when you actually look at it, every single part of the game, every facet of it, is physical. It was all handmade by real animators, and that is awesome. I do worry about what they're asking for. They're asking for $35,000, which seems a little bit cheap for the quality of animation that they're going to give. I hope that they can truly make this project on that small of a budget, because it does seem a bit ambitious. The game itself revolves around a character named Knite, and what's really cool is the lighting effects in this game are absolutely impeccable, and apparently that's going to be part of the gameplay. As he walks around, he's what's known as a ghost piper, and these will-o'-the-wisps, these sort of glowing lights, are lost souls traveling through his world known as the Mistlands. As he takes them from one place to another, he'll meet quirky characters, like a tree stump that I thought was pretty cool. And ultimately, it's meant to play out like an adventure game or a puzzle game as you go through it. I think this has a lot of legs. I think it looks really cool. I think it's interesting. However, I do wonder what the gameplay is ultimately going to be like, because you don't really see a lot of that in their Kickstarter video, and they don't really describe it too much, other than to say it's going to be another Metroidvania, which we have a lot of those. Do we really need another one? Still, I think if you take a look at it, it'll pique your interest, and I hope that you'll give it a little bit of your time. It has been a really great month for miniatures games. Between Gallo Arcana last week, and then this week, we have the excellent Fairytale Games Battle Royale. It's based in a world similar to Hunger Games, except featuring your favorite fairy tale and folklore characters. You've got the Jabberwocky, you've got the Nutcracker, you've got Hansel and Gretel. You've got all of these excellent classic characters placed in this supremely violent setting. And a lot of people, I think, are really going to dig that. It's got a sort of gothic horror feel to it, a sort of steampunk feel to it, and the miniatures are absolutely gorgeous to look at. There's a lot of detail, a lot of personality in every single one of these minis, and I think that's really going to sell it to people. In fact, it's already been funded, but I think you should take a look at it just because even if you never play the game, you're probably going to want to have a few of these on your shelf. It's really, really cool. We don't get a lot of chance to talk about card games here on Jetpack Joust, just because we play a lot of board games and role-playing games and indie games, and just unfortunately, they tend to get left to the wayside. But we still really love the genre. And this week on Kickstarter, a game popped up that really had me wanting to get back into it. It's called Zycards, and it's by a developer in England, and he's asking for about £4,000, which should be enough to get this game made, so I really hope it does. It's a game that takes place in a world very similar to Magic. You have these massive elemental creatures, you have these celestial beings that are coming back and ravaging the planet. You have to play and fight against them and sort of stand against these godlike creatures. What's really got me most interested, though, is the beautiful, beautiful artwork. It is absolutely stunning. You look at it, and it's both ethereal and dreamlike, yet incredibly detailed. And even though the game doesn't really describe much of how it's going to play, they do say that it's going to be simple, that it's going to be able to fit onto one card, the rules will all fit onto one card. And I think that's really important when you're talking about a card game, because they tend to appeal, first of all, more towards kids, but also the adults that are going to play it don't want to have to spend a lot of time dealing with a lot of extraneous rules. They just want to get into it, and they want to get into the strategy. And the creator is promising a lot of excellent strategy in this game as well. I think you should take a look at it just because the art is so cool, and I think you're really going to fall in love with it. So if this thing gets funded, which I really hope it does, I'm probably going to pick up a couple booster packs just because I want to have them to be able to look at and smell, and oh, it's going to be awesome. That's it for this week's episode, everybody. We're going to go ahead and put links to every single one of these projects in the description bar below. And even though I was downplaying a lot of the gameplay mechanics and how much fun you're going to have playing these games, ultimately, I think it's important to realize that when a game company puts the visual quality, when they put the aesthetics in the forefront, they've often spent just as much time worrying about playtesting, worrying about making sure that everything's ironed out and really fun. So I really have a lot of hope for these games, even though they don't tell us much about what the game itself is going to be. If nothing else, like I said, you'll have some awesome minis to put on your shelf, you'll have some awesome cards to hold in your hand, and you'll have a great stop-motion game to just look at and marvel at the quality of the handmade materials. Go ahead and swing by jetpackjoust.com to read everything that we're talking about over there. We hope that you'll go ahead and comment on our website, comment on our articles. We want to get a dialogue going. We really think that with indie culture, dialogue is the most important, and we really want to have that with you, and we really want to get involved. So swing by the site. We're doing a lot of awesome things. And also, give us a subscribe here, and check us out on Twitter at Jetpack Joust. My name's Corey, and we're going to go ahead and leave you here. Thanks so much for joining us this week.